You've been in Benghazi. I wonder if you would comment on the assassination of Ambassador Stevens. Do you think, for example, that the State Department was wise in letting him even go down there, given it was 9/11?
Yes.
I mean, 9/11. It seems to me that everybody in Washington, or maybe even in Libya too, forgot that there was a big anniversary coming up. And as you know, because you were in the embassy there, when the chief of mission goes off, he sends a cable to Washington that I'm going down, I'll be back in a couple of days, and they either concur or not. It just seems to me that he walked into a lion's den without anybody really being aware of what the situation was.
As far as what was going on there, I'd written a piece also in which I argued that there's some systemic issues that's not a taking it up a step. It's not a Romney-Obama issue. This is a sort of a systemic issue within several U.S. government agencies which send people out into the field. Is that you tend to have this super response to certain situations where you've got the fortress and people can't barely get in and out, and one asks what exactly are they doing there, versus transitional installations, whether they're, when I first got to Libya, it was USLO, the United States Liaison Office. It wasn't an embassy. It was a transition. We were living in a hotel. The State Department doesn't tend to cope with those situations as well as maybe they might, and I think that was part of why Secretary Clinton came forward and said that basically on some level she's taking responsibility for that, and presumably there will be investigations and people will look into to how to better protect to make the bureaucracy work better to protect U.S. diplomats. One has to say against that look, if you look at the record of how many at least foreign service officers have been killed in the line of duty or ambassadors, it's very few. So they must be doing a very good job in many instances, but there seem to be certain types of situations which are more prone for there to be breakdowns. When we were when I was based in Tripoli, we had virtually no protection whatsoever. And we wrote very similar cables and said, could you please, yes, we understand that Gaddafi's security apparatus is prevalent, but does that mean that that we're not exposed? I think there were a lot of people who were very relieved when our tours were over for that reason. There are anecdotes that it's not just me saying these things. The fact is that the State Department is being asked to put more and more people in more and more dangerous situations, and there is a limited budget. Congress has a lot to do with that. Many of the people who are screaming at the State Department saying that they are at fault here are some of the same people who are refusing to authorize funds for that. It's a complicated issue. Those kinds of budgets and allocations are a negotiation between the President, the Congress, and with input from the State Department. But to answer your question even more directly, I don't know why, we were certainly concerned before we went in there that it was the anniversary of September 11th. Not a great time to be running around. We didn't feel ourselves that we were, we're not prominent targets, but we are Westerners, and we stick out in a place like Benghazi. There had been there was a pattern of attacks in Benghazi over the course of the previous 6 months, and practically all of them were high-profile, either local officials or international diplomats. So one would have to say that that was a prominent target. So unexplained question. I haven't heard any convincing answers as to why that was the case. Cultural center. He wasn't in Benghazi to meet with us because I had heard that he was in town when I arrived, and that made it into various press, the media, various places, and I think there's just so much misinformation running around.